Sean Grayson, the former Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy convicted in the killing of Sonya Massey, has died in prison.
I'm not a lawyer, but Sean Grayson, the former Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy who was convicted of murdering Sonya Massey, has died in prison today. I won't go through the whole story, but if you recall, back in July of 2024, Sonya Massey called 911 because she thought someone was lurking on the outside of her house. And so when officers arrived, it included Sean Grayson, and they, after searching the outside of her house, they went inside of her house. And that interaction results in Sean Grayson shooting and killing Sonya Massey. Sean Grayson's trial was in October of 2025, and at the end of his trial, he was convicted of second-degree murder. And then in January of 2026, he was officially sentenced to 20 years in prison. However, about 6 months into serving his sentence, Sean Grayson asked to be medically released, and he filed under the Joe Coleman Act, which allows inmates who are terminally ill or medically incapacitated to be medically released from prison. And he filed for that release because Sean Grayson had been suffering from colon cancer. At the time of his trial, he was about stage 3, and at the time of his sentencing, it had progressed to stage 4. The cancer had spread to his liver, to his lungs, and his rectum. His request to be medically released was denied on July 31st, and so now here we are, August 23rd, so less than a month after that, and he has died in prison. So that is the update on that case.
The case began in July 2024 when Sonya Massey called 911 because she believed someone was outside her home. Officers responded, including Grayson, and after checking the property, they entered the house. The encounter ended with Grayson shooting and killing Massey. Grayson was later convicted of second-degree murder at his October 2025 trial and sentenced to 20 years in prison in January 2026.
Tonight in Illinois, former Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson guilty of second-degree murder in the shooting of 36-year-old Sonya Massey.
It's guilty. Second degree.
The verdict carrying a sentence of up to 20 years in prison, but Massey's family and other supporters had been hoping for a conviction on first-degree murder.
I'm fueled by rage right now. If you get an officer that says he's going to shoot you in the face, and then he shoots you in the face, and you only get second-degree murder.
Grayson stoic as the verdict was read. The jury ultimately finding Grayson shot Massey in her kitchen last year and that his claim of needing to use deadly force was unreasonable. This after Grayson testified he perceived Massey's behavior as a threat. The Springfield mother of 2 had called 911 about a possible prowler picking up a pot of boiling water and saying, prosecutors arguing Grayson could have left Massey's home after she ducked behind her counter and apologized. Tonight, Massey's father angry, but hopeful Grayson will receive the maximum sentence.
Because he showed no remorse. He was so cocky throughout this whole trial.
You felt like he was cocky?
Oh, yeah. Until today. Until he was
convicted.
Yeah. That knocked the smirk off.
And Maggie, we heard it right there. The Massey family furious. They didn't get that first-degree murder conviction. And this was a result of a late move by the defense. Explain.
Yeah, Tom, that's right. Right before closing arguments, the defense introducing that option of second-degree murder, perhaps to spare Grayson the possible life sentence that could have come with a first-degree murder conviction. Tonight, Grayson's attorney's not commenting. He's set to be sentenced in January.
Former Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson died in prison earlier today. His attorney confirmed his death to us late this afternoon. Grayson was serving a 20-year sentence for the murder of Sonya Massey in 2024. You may recall Grayson fatally shot Massey after she called 911 to report a possible intruder at her home in Springfield, Illinois. Just weeks ago, Grayson was denied medical release from a prison sentence, citing his stage 4 colon cancer diagnosis. He was 32 years old. Ben Crump and Antonio Romanucci, the attorneys for the Massey family, released a statement saying, in part, Sean Grayson's death in custody from cancer does not bring Sonya back. We wish his family prayers of peace, as we do for all who grieve a loved one. Sonya's family knows that pain all too well.
While serving his sentence, Grayson requested medical release under the Joe Coleman Act because he was suffering from advanced colon cancer. His cancer had progressed to stage 4 and had spread to other parts of his body. For many people, his death has not brought sympathy. given the circumstances surrounding Sonya Massey's killing.
What's good? To the comment, I had a commenter, a Spanish commenter, who was saying, why don't I ever talk about our people? Take up, for Spanish people. Listen, I'm not Latino, man. I know I'm going through my Latino phase right now. I'm growing my hair back. No Espanol. I mean, y'all welcome, you're welcome over here if you got some act right in you, but nah, no Espanol. And stop leaving them long ass Spanish comments. I'm not gonna be hitting translate, But you're welcome. But man, this country is just degenerate, man. The degeneracy is just degenerates everywhere. But first off, right quick, man. What the hell is going on in North Carolina? Now, I've been talking about North Carolina for damn near a year. Every month, it seemed like, at least every month, there's a black person found hung in a tree in North Carolina. Now, the first time, the second time, y'all, the authorities had a, in my mind, it was always what I thought it was. But, okay, one or two times I could see y'all, come on, man. This is like a monthly tradition at this point. You out-of-towners, you got truckers that come from out of town. I'm going to tell you what I believe. The same thing y'all believe. But, I believe 12 definitely involved. I've been saying this. Police is involved in this. And I've spoken on, and people think it's sensationalism, is, wild conspiracies. There is a secret society in these police forces throughout the country. Especially in Carolina, it appears. Where call them the new Klan, call them whatever, white supremacists. And they got to be involved in this, man. You got all this flock surveillance. Like I said, cameras everywhere. Now, when one of them boys in Chicago, or any of the gang members in any hood, when they, like the Fulio case, man, they tracked them killers, every move they made before they even got to the city. Because they came from out of Jacksonville, I believe, to do that hit. But all this to say, they use like 30 different cameras. Cameras on the license plates, cameras that track the car to this. They got everything. You know what I'm saying? But when they want to convict some black folks, they damn sure come up with surveillance. But these black folks keep being found in trees, and if they were committing, if they were self-deleting, you still would have something on camera somewhere, right? Yeah. I believe it's the police, man. Straight up. I believe the police. It makes sense to me. Even truckers coming up missing. Truckers from out of state. So I believe they get pulled over for whatever reason by the police. They throw some, fake, charges on them to get them, isolated and get them somewhere where they can off them. That's what I believe is going on. Ain't no way you gonna tell me this many black folks don't hang these. How many times? I'm gonna keep saying this. I'm not saying it never happened before, but we don't just, that's not how we going out, man. It's not. Especially not in no tree somewhere in a public place. These are murders. And nobody's doing nothing. And this is why I say the gangs, and obviously the gangs can't police the whole damn state, but should nobody come up missing in our inner cities with all these gangsters? That's what gangsters used to do. They used to protect the community. They might have raised a little hell here and there, got their money out of it, but they was protecting the community. Ain't no white supremacists coming in no hood. When you ever heard of the Klan, I'm saying in modern history, coming through these hoods, man, they know they get, you know what I'm saying? So, It's somebody that can move around with no, that don't stand out. It's police doing this, or they tied in with police. Because ain't no way you're going to... What is this like? Because they just found another person a couple days ago. That's like 5 this month. I know it's been close to a dozen over the last year. What the hell is going on in Carolina? And they want us to believe black folks just all of a sudden we just hanging ourselves in trees. That's how, don't get me wrong, this country is shitty. And it's a cruel world, but we ain't going out like that. Black folks, we the strongest race on this country. I mean, in this world. So, not to say we don't struggle with mental health issues, but nah, man, this is not what we doing. Some degenerates, that work through the police force. You got degenerates like Jake Lang, this January 6er, who ran up in the White House and got a pardon from 3 Dementia Donnie. Your thief and, commander and thief. These are the type of trash, human trash, that he gives pardons to. Basically condoning this shit, this behavior. This dude running around inciting racial violence. He was just in Minnesota, got his ass whooped by Spider-Man, apparently. Yeah, with somebody in a Spider-Man costume, put BTA on this dude is... To wake up every day, man, just thinking about how can I harass black folks, like that. These are the type of degenerates that we have running around this country. And like I said, they are commissioned by the, the Grand Wizard himself, Trump. So we got degenerates in our own community, running around, thinking it's, a badge of honor to shoot down another black person. That's a stripe on your shoulder to catch a black hat, instead of focusing on the real enemy. These white supremacists that's, going around just stringing up black folks. Then we got degenerates like Chud the Builder, and this human lice lab, Jake Lang. Keep messing around, man. You gonna get what you want. You gonna run up on the right one. Bring your ass to Cleveland. Y'all know what happened to them lice factories, that the Klan that came to Columbus. They got ran up out of there. See, they know where to go. You in Minnesota. So this dude was at he was also at Nolan Wells's, one of those hearings or something. He was down there in Mississippi though. Like I said, spreading hatred. That's the problem with this country. That's gonna be this country's undoing. So y'all think this shit is cute. The little racists who support them. It's gonna be y'all undoing at the end of the day. So yeah. This lice lab, who you think is cute to go around antagonizing black folks, but you gonna run across the right one. Cause most of us, we got shit to live for. We got shit that shit to lose. But you got a lot of people out here, they looking for a reason to crash out. Bring your ass to Cleveland. With that bullshit. But just degeneracy, man. Speaking of degenerate cops. So apparently this dude, Sean Grayson, the cop that murdered Sonya Massey in her own kitchen because she was holding a pot of water. She called the police. This is in Illinois. This wasn't in Chirac either. This was in the suburbs. This woman stays alone. And from what I understand, she, was going through some mental health issues. But regardless, she called, 12 and reported, a suspected prowler around her premises. Sean Grayson, coward ass, he shows up. And automatically he just, she's in the kitchen. First they at the door. But she did make a comment that triggered him, man. She said something about, get back Satan, and it just triggered him, man. Just these demons, Neanderthal demons. And he just went from 0 to 100, up pipe on her. Now she's standing in the kitchen with a pot of water, and put the water down, put the pot down. It shoots the woman in the face, and cold blood shot her in her face. And then they lied and said, we looking at the body cam. Lied and said that she was attempting to throw the pot of water. Even if she was, man, what type of coward-ass, raggedy-ass cops do we have out here now? Don't nobody really want to be a cop, to be honest. So they get the worst of the worst, man. These losers that have no self-esteem, ego trippers, the little nerds, and not the cool nerds, the smart people. I mean the nerds that, they just socially awkward and, you know what I'm saying, ostracized. So they grow up resentful, man, got their ass kicked in school all the time, so they want to exert their toughness. So they get a badge. This dude shouldn't be he shouldn't even be able to work at an animal shelter and carry a flashlight, let alone. But anyway, just murders this woman in cold blood. We all seen what happened. He beat it. Well, he didn't actually beat it. Second degree murder. So that means 4 to 20, he out. 4 to 20 from. And they gave Carmelo Anthony 30 years in a situation where he was being assaulted. A split second, and this cop who's, people like Sonya, Massey is paying his salary. We paying their salaries for them to murder us. This dude should be held to a higher standard. These cops should be held to a much higher standard than a 16, 17-year-old or anyone else. Public officials, law officers. But 4 to 20, man. So, but you turn around and get this dude 30 years. This is why we say the justice system is broken. So he was going to get out at some point, He was going to get out. But wait a minute. Like I said, man, karma got a funny way of working. It may be years, it may be instant, it may be years. You actually might make it off this earth. But we all got to stand before the Most High, see? He watching down over all this. Sometimes people get their karma here, and they gonna get it in the afterlife. So apparently this dude had colon cancer. So he was trying to get an early release, but yeah, he's in that lower room now. Well, I can't judge his soul. Only the Most High can do that. But yeah, he should have got murked in the streets actually. But that's how karma works sometimes. So but he was fighting hard for an early release and probably would have got it, man. Except, cancer ended up taking him out of here. So, and to think, man, these are the type of people that these white supremacists, they, flood they, the GoFundMes, they set up these GoFundMes, all the poor people in this country, all the poor white folks in this country. And they rather send their money to these racists like Chud the Builder, the school shooters. But meanwhile, you got poor folks that can't even, afford groceries. Hey, I'm telling you, man, white America, y'all got y'all priorities all fucked up, man. You do, all backwards. And this could be a great country. But you inbreds, you Neanderthals, the light slabs, y'all are so immersed in y'all hate. talking about make this country great again. You know, the best way to make this country great is to eliminate the races, eradicate them, exterminate them. Need some pest control. But like I said, karma don't always come, you know, instantly. But everybody got their karma, me, you, everybody. You know, depending on what, you know, what type of life you live. So what you doing in the shadows, the Most High, don't nothing slip past his radar. And you will get your karma. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, all the people that's carrying hatred in your heart, you know, for black folks, people of color, some of y'all just hate your damn self. You know, and it's a damn shame. You know, y'all are the reason why this country can't be what it should be. And the corrupt politicians, that is. But, yeah, old Jake Lane, he got his ultimate karma, you know. I hope his colon fell out his asshole before he died. One op left.
Her case has become another painful reminder of the injustice and violence Black communities have faced for generations. For those who saw Sonya's death as a failure of accountability, his passing does not erase the pain her family continues to carry.